Good afternoon, YouTubers. Thank you for watching Taino Lifestyle. I am your host, Chino. Today, we're going to speak about the origin of Masonry, of Freemasons, in a lot of religious groups, as well as revolutionary groups. Okay. Um, and the reason why I'm speaking on it, I am a Freemason myself. I've been doing it for 16 years. And there's always a misconception when it comes to Masons. We're going to take over the world and we're Illuminati and whatever. We're traitors. Some people think that we're traitors to to different groups, which is ridiculous. Um, all we are is just the oldest and the most ancient fraternity, in the world. um, so basically, I want to go ahead and start a series, um, just to let you guys know where sorry about that. My iPad's acting crazy. I said series and Siri popped up. Yeah. So anyway, sorry about that. Please disregard my background noise. My dog just had puppies, so you might hear them in the background crying and whining or whatnot, doing what little puppies do. So um again, YouTubers, thank you for watching Taino Lifestyle. Again, I am your host, Chino. And like I said, we will be speaking the roots of Freemasonry in a lot of organizations and religious groups and things of that nature. And I'm speaking on it because I am a Freemason. I've been doing it for 16 years. Um, and I've never seen anybody defend the Freemasons. I do understand that we do have various groups that are enemies of Freemasonry as a whole. Um, and that's understandable. That's fine. At the same time, um, I feel that if it wasn't for Freemasonry or Freemasons, many organizations and many of these religious systems that you see nowadays probably wouldn't exist. So, um, I guess we are contributing to society. You know what I'm saying? Um, so, and I don't want to take too long. Like I said, I'm just gonna hit um, on these groups. Excuse me. I'm gonna be drinking some. Um, yes, I don't want to make this, but I'm just gonna get straight to the point, to specific points. I already understand that I may be ruffling some feathers, um, and that's okay. Like I said, I'm starting the series. We're gonna go ahead and start with the Moorish Science Temple of America. Um, a lot of the times I see their videos, I see some of these Moorish guys talk, and they're always talking about, when they're talking about a specific person or whatnot, it's like they refer to them as Masons, and I'm like, really? I'm like, why are you referring to them as Masons? So it's almost as if Masons were traders, and they're the ones that, I guess when we're talking to the Moorish people, considered, the so-called black people, um, you know, I guess they consider them Masons were the ones that established slavery or helped in some way or another to establish Masonry in the United States, which, I mean, I can see where I can see a point in a way. Um, what a lot of people do not understand about Freemasons is that Freemasons has different factions within itself. It's like Christians, like Christianity, that big umbrella of Christianity. You know what I'm saying? You have different factions in Christianity that sometimes bump heads with each other. So we also, as well, in Freemasonry, they are factions in Freemasonry, and they bump heads with each other sometimes. And um, now the thing about Freemasons that I think what gives it a bad name is that a lot of people know Freemasonry through the eyes of the Caucasians. Um, you know, and again, like I said, there's different factions of Masonry. You know what I'm saying? There's international groups, there's groups from Italy, groups from Greece, Europe, Africa, the Caribbean, Mexico, United States, Canada. I mean, you name it, there's Masons pretty much anywhere and everywhere. Um, but like I said, there's different factions. You have Prince Hall Masons, which are predominantly Black Masons. You have what they call the your regular Masons, your mainstream Masons. That's the word I was looking for, mainstream. And mainstream Masons are considered, your Caucasian, European descent, um, so-called white guys. What a lot of people don't understand is that Masonry has a long history, and it really originally comes. It originally really starts in Egypt, I guess, or should I say that's about as far back that we can probably trace it. We could probably trace it before that, but you know, anyways. So Egypt is kind of like the roots, where everything kind of comes from, basically, as far as Masonry. Um, so yeah. So let's go ahead and let me go ahead and share the screen real quick. Let me go ahead and share the screen and start this process. And we're gonna go right through it. Oh, excuse me, those are my dogs. Sorry about the dogs. So here we go. So Freemasonry in the early beginnings of the Moorish science temples of America. All right. So before we go into anything, I'm going to go ahead and explain a little bit about Masonry. Okay. Actually, let me start with this little slide right here. So a lot of people don't understand. When you look at the United States, the main entity in the United States comes from the Grand Lodge of England. It makes total sense, if you know your history of the United States. And to make it short, the British came here. They established. They came to the States. They established a colony, and out of the colonies, and obviously Freemasonry started here in the United States. George Washington being the first American Mason. Um, and I mean American Mason as far as mainstream as the Caucasian brothers, European Caucasians, whatever name people want to give them. Um, so yeah, but a lot of people think so. The predominantly entity in the United States, it's basically everybody in the United States. I don't care what state you're in. Um, they pretty much can trace their lineage um, back to England. What a lot of people do not understand is that in order for England to work in Freemason, um, they had to get chartered through France. Um, in 1777, the Grand Orient of France recognized the antiquity of the Lodge of the Perfect Equality, and it was basically formed in 1688. Um, so basically, the English Lodge that was found, the first English Lodge that um, was founded in Dunkirk at 1721. Was basically the first English lodge. You know what I'm saying? And that's before even coming to America. All right. So I kind of wanted to mention that they had to get their charter from the French. All right. So this is going to touch up a little bit more on the American Masonry. I'm trying to make sure this is not okay. So as we all know, George Washington is the first Master Mason in the United States. He was, from Virginia. He became a Master Mason, in Virginia. Um, the lodge that he belonged to was the Masonic Lodge number 4 of Fredericksburg, Virginia. 1717, the first Grand Lodge, an association of lodges, was founded in England. So that was in 1717. As I mentioned earlier, 1688 or early 16, late 1600s, that's when the French Masons were already operating. So basically, 1717, the first Grand Lodge was founded in England, and Freemasonry was soon disseminated throughout the British Empire. The first Masonic Lodge in the United States and America was established in Philadelphia in 1730. Future revolutionary Benjamin Franklin was also a founding member of that lodge. Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and start a little bit in the history of Masonry so you understand where we're coming from. Okay. My iPad's acting crazy now. Okay. All right. So now we're going to talk about Black Masonry in the United States. So I'm Puerto Rican, by the way. So I'm pretty much in the middle. So when I talk, I'm always going to talk on the perspective of Black and white because I'm just basically in the middle. You know what I'm saying? So we're Black and we're white and we're mixed and we've got Native in us. We have a little bit of everything. So we're not too Black. We're not Black to be Black. We're not white to be white. We're just in the middle. So that's why every time you're going to see my discussions, I'm going to be comparing both sides, the white and the Black side, the so-called white side, the so-called Black side. I'm going to be comparing all of them. All right. So Black Masonry in America starts with a guy named Prince Hall. Okay. Um, Prince Hall was born in the West Indies. And he migrated from the West Indies to Boston. Okay. Basically, in 1787, he received a charter from the Grand Lodge of England. See, there goes that Grand Lodge of England again. And then he organized what is now the oldest Black fraternal organization in America. He established a African Lodge number 459. Okay, and that's because he got the charter from England. Now I can definitely do a Prince Hall video one day just on Prince Hall because his story is amazing. I could probably do another video just on George Washington itself. Both guys are considered the fathers of Masonry in the United States. Um, so you got that. So let's talk about the Shriners, which is a branch off of the Freemasons. Okay, and there's a reason why I'm going to this because, like I said, we're going to talk about the Moorish Science Temple of America and where they got most of their beginnings from. You know, so I'm trying to clear it out for you guys ahead of time so you can see where the buildup is going to. So basically, this is the Shriners International webpage, and there's a little bit of their history. Um, and basically, the first, of course, just like the first Masons in America were so-called white, well, the first Shriners in America were so-called white as well. And basically, these two brothers you see right here, um, these two brothers you see right there, Walter Fleming and William Florence. Those were the first Caucasian brothers to establish Masonry. I mean, not Masonry, I'm sorry, the Shriners in the United States. So in 1870, a group of Masons gathered frequently for lunch at the Knickerbocker Cottage. So they were called the Knickerbocker Boys over there in New York. All right. And basically, what they did was they established basically like a little fraternity out of Masonry for the simple fact so they can drink and have fun. Because if you're a Mason, everybody knows Masonry could be when you go to the lodge and you have all these meetings and you have, all these situations you got to do, it can get a little stuffy in there, And, if I'm not mistaken, I think at one point, when the Masons used to go into refreshment, which is basically like a break, like a little break, they were allowed to drink, but for some reason that got banned or whatever, that got changed. So because of that, these Masons, these brothers, Walter Fleming and William Florence, they um, they established the Shriners. So that way they can have fun, they can drink, and it's more of like a fun house for masonry. Okay. So basically, like I said, in 1870, they established this. Okay. If you notice, they're the ones that established, they, were using the fez as well. And I'm going to touch on the fez a little bit more later on. All right. And this is also another website, one of their other websites, History of the Shriners International. Again, it tells you in 1872, Walter Fleming, a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Mason, took the idea supplied by William Florence about the ceremonies that he had attended in Algiers and Cairo. So there's the beginnings, you know what I'm saying? As you can see, there's the tie with the Shriners in Egypt. Okay. They took those ideas, they converted it into what is now called the ancient Arabic orders, nobles of the mystic shrine. All right. In other words, you have to be a Mason to be a Shriner. You can't be a Shriner without being a Mason. Okay. So there's a history on the Shriners. All right. Now let's talk about the Black Shriners. Where do they come into play? Because they come into play as well. As you see, everything that starts with the whites obviously ends up with the blacks as well. Mm-hmm. All right. So basically, the nobles of the Mystic Shrine are relatively modern. Okay. They originated in the United States, and they were founded by Masons, white Masons. Their membership is restricted only to Masons. Okay. Um, in the old days, the Negroes or the black people, they couldn't become Shriners. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't become Shriners. And in one case, a Negro, in the other who have become Knights Templars or have received the 32nd degree of Scottish Rite Consistory, they were able to partake of the Shriners. The White Masons were the first to establish the orders of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine. Um, in New York in 1872, okay, by the Knickerbocker Boys. The Negro Masons or the Black Masons um, imitatively organized. They were trying to imitate the white guys, and they organized a like order for like purposes in Chicago in 1893. Now, it's funny because when you speak to these Moors, they say that Chicago's the Mecca. You'll see why it's the Mecca in a little bit. All right. Um, so in Chicago, there was in 1893, the Constitution, the emblems, and the regalia of the Negro order, as also the titles were given to the officers of his temples and council, were all adopted in imitation of those of the white order. All right. That order was also authorized an extension of an ancient. Wait, I'm sorry. Another. Okay, yeah. So basically, I'm sorry, I got a little confused. So basically, in the bottom here, it says the order, which you're talking about the Shriners. This order was authorized. Is an extension of an ancient and illustrious order established centuries ago in Mohammedan countries. Okay, remember that word, Mohammedan, Muhammad, basically all the Muslims, um, Islam, Muslims, the real Muslims. There's a big difference from the Muslims in America, the Islam or Muslims in America, versus the ancient original Muslims. There's a big difference. And like I said in the series, we'll be touching on that some more. But we're talking about this is a an extension of the Mohammedans, right? Mohammedans or Mohammedan, right? Oops, sorry, just dropped my pistol. That happened. So yeah, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, so there's a little bit of the Shriners, you know, or the Black Shriners, so-called Black Shriners. Okay, yeah, my dogs are active today. So here's the story of the Fez. All right, and basically they're both the same story. So I'm just kind of gonna go. I'm kind of going to go with the. I'll touch up on a little bit on both, but basically I'll go ahead and touch on this. And the reason why I'm going to go ahead and use this because this is the infamous Fez. The infamous fez that these brothers, these Moors wear. You know what I'm saying? Um, these fez, you know, they claim that they're the originals to the fez. And I'm going to prove in a minute they're not. The Moors, the ancient original, the real original ancient Moors did not wear fez. They didn't wear fez hats or covers or whatever you want to call it. So the fez comes from um, the Shriners. The Shriners use fezzes as well. A fez is one of the most recognized symbols of the Shriners International, was adopted as the Shriners' official headgear in 1872. Named after the city of Fez in Morocco. And the reason why it's called Fez because they used to be made in Fez, Morocco, right? That had represented the Arabian theme the fraternity was founded on. It also serves as an outward symbol of one memberships in the fraternity. Much like the white apron worn by Masons, right, which represents Masonry, then the fez represents Shriners. Okay? Um, and then over here, it's going to break it down a little bit more. Again, it says the city of Fez in ancient Morocco is believed by many to be the origin of the Fez hat. When the Hajj pilgrimage was temporarily suspended in 980 AD, the pilgrims living in the west side of the Nile River were directed to Fez, which was in Morocco, as an effective alternative to the holy city of Mecca. Okay, where and this is where the Moors, the original ancient Moors, adopted the Fez hat. Okay, a Moor merchant started the supplies of a new style of headdress, which quickly became popular due to the heavy influx of pilgrims in the city. The Fez initially had a monopoly on the manufacture of fezzes because the berry that was used to color the hats was planted only in Fez, Morocco. That's why they're red predominantly. Um, and like I said, the Moor merchant was actually starting to sell them. He wasn't even wearing them because the Moors weren't wearing fez. They were wearing turbans. They didn't wear fez at that time. Okay. Um, the interest of the hat was reignited in 1826 when the Sultan Mahmud II of the Ottoman Empire, for those who know the Ottoman Empire, that's the Turkish, right? They were looking to change the traditional garment of their civil officers into something new. Initially, he thought of using a triangular hat of European descent. However, his advisors pointed out to the three corners representing the Holy Trinity of the Christians, which could sow discord amongst the largely Muslim subjects. Okay? So when a shipment of fences arrived from Tunisia, they were selected instead. The hat was publicized as being a badge of identification for Turkish subjects. And even those citizens who were not Muslims were obliged to wear them. So let's keep that in mind. Let's keep that in mind because, again, this is pre the Moorish wearing the fez hats. Okay. All right. And here's a picture. I have a picture of the Ottoman Sultan Mahmud in 1821 who made the hat an official part of his uniform, his officers' uniforms. Here's some Turkish guys, wearing these little hats. Right? And here's some more Turkish, I'm saying? That's the infantry line, they had swords and they wear the fez. They were the first ones to wear the fez. Look at this guy right here. He's got the whole, outfit. This guy right here is like a shoemaker or something. He's just sitting there chilling. And then we got this older guy. Now, this is what got me right here. This is when I'm doing this research, and this is what really got me. So I'm trying to understand, and this is what I'm still trying to understand. How is it that these Nazis were wearing these fezzes with Nazi symbols and stuff? As you see in this picture, they're looking at Islam and Judentum. I don't know what that means. I guess it's Judaism, I guess. Um, I don't know. This is kind of interesting. I never thought of Nazis wearing fez hats. But it seems that these Nazis were wearing fez hats before the Moorish Science Temple of America was. It's just interesting to me. So this is what the ancient Moors. So I'm not saying that the Moors didn't exist. They did. Okay. They just didn't wear fezzes. You know what I'm saying? And they weren't Masons. They were actually Muslims, actually African black Muslims from way back in the day, from like everywhere, from Africa, from the Middle East, from wherever. You know what I'm saying? And you see, when you research the old Moors, the ancient Moors, well, they all wear turbans. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think that's crazy. They wear turbans. You don't see none of them wearing fez. Just interesting. So let's talk about the Science Temple of America. All right. So they go by this guy, they follow this guy faithfully. And that's great. You know what I'm saying? I believe, I'm a strong believer that if you're gonna follow somebody's ideology, then do it faithfully and follow it to the end. And I'm for it. But the Moorish Science Temple of America, they follow this guy named Noble Drew Ali. And there's a picture of him right there. You see, he's wearing his little fez hat. Right off the bat, he's already standing there doing a Masonic symbol. And this is where I'm going to touch on the correlation from Masonry in the Moorish Science Temple. When they try to make it seem like everything that they have done, they have created originally, and it's not really the truth. They've taken a lot of things from Masonry, and they kind of started their own, religion, so to speak, or their own religious organization to study and stuff like that. And I'm not knocking what they're doing. I mean, I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong. I mean, more power to them. You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying is that most of their knowledge base comes from Freemason. And I'm sure they got some other stuff intertwined in there as well. It's not just Freemasons, but most of it, the way their breakdown is, and most of the stuff that they do has a lot of Masonic connotations. So my thing is, if Freemasons are your parents, don't talk bad about Freemasons. We're not your enemy. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, let's talk about Noble Drew Ali, or his government name. His name is Timothy Drew. I'm not going to say where he's born because there's a lot of stories of he was born here and he was adopted. And to me, that's irrelevant right now. All right. But this is Timothy's life. Okay, and this is a newspaper out of Newark, New Jersey from like 1919 or something. I don't remember exactly the date. But yeah, this is a newspaper that was going out when Timothy Drew got arrested. He got arrested in the fourth precinct of Newark, New Jersey. Um, it says that he was known for twisting and breaking bars with one hand and shattering iron locks. You know what I'm saying? He was known for breaking away from handcuffs and, stuff like that. Um, you know, there were people that didn't know is that those handcuffs and those bars that he was bending and all that stuff, those were his own fabricated bars. So it goes to show you that the principles or the roots of this MSTA, the Moorish Science Temple of America, um, they come from deception. Um, they come from deception. They're, originally Timothy was deceiving a lot of people, and then he finds masonry. And once he found masonry, he was like, hey, I can use this. So he kind of took principles from masonry, and then he started meeting other people. And he started getting, a little bit of the mysticism and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And this is what we have now as the Moorish Science Temple. Okay. He's the other article right here on the right side. It says he was able to cure aches and pains, fevers, consumption and depression, and dyspepsia. I can't really see it because this writing is kind of, asphyxia. He can heal convulsions and, lumbago and heart disease and, all these claims that he was supposedly able to do miracles and all that. The most expensive miracle, of course, all the miracles that he can do for you was at a cost. And it sounds kind of familiar nowadays. You can go to church now and have this pastor that's like so known, so you got to pay, $50 just to go to the church, and then you got to give them the offerings, and you got to give them your tithes and all that, and then maybe then, God can use him to to cure you. You know what I'm saying? So this comes from way back in the day. So this is early 1900s. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so Drew Ali, or Timothy Drew, his real name, he was known for taking away evil spirits and all this crazy stuff. It's crazy. Um, but then there's other newspapers that you keep finding. You know what I'm saying? Um, some people are saying that his charm of healing, maybe came from voodoo or hoodoo. You know, uh, which is crazy because the court had a crystal ball that belonged to Mr. Drew. And a lot of people at that time were thinking that he was practicing witchcraft. I mean, that's interesting to me. If you're part of a religious system that has roots in witchcraft, has roots in hustling people, you know what I'm saying? All this craziness is, I mean, it's interesting to see the beginnings of something like that, and into what it is now. And again, I'm not trying to be negative against the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'm just shedding some light on some things that a lot of people don't know. Um, you know what I'm saying? So basically, Dr. Thomas. So now he's referring to himself as a doctor. Um, this is a like a little advertisement, right? And his name in this advertisement is Dr. Thomas Drew. He was an Egyptian adept and a student. So he's like, he's basically like the student that, that just does everything for the professor. He's not really a professor, he's not a master, he's not a master at his craft. He's just a student, an Egyptian student. But all of a sudden, he's a doctor. Hmm. We keep looking at this. It says he was known for breaking bars with his hand. He shattered stuff, but they were his own bars. Okay. Um, he had two charges at the time of his arrest. One was for pretending powers of clairvoyance. So he was pretending to be a clairvoyant. And the other one accuses him of selling medicine without a license. So I don't know what kind of doctor that is, but that's funny. So anyway, so this is his beginnings of Mr. Drew. And I could, man, there's so many articles that I have. I can really go in depth in his past. I mean, this man, it seemed like he went from Virginia to Jersey to Chicago, like he was traveling. It's crazy because if you read the stuff that I was reading, it's almost like he was a gypsy. And if you know about gypsies, they travel and they do tricks. They do illusions and they pull tricks and they make you think that they're actually reading your palm or they're reading a crystal ball or you know it's almost as if some of them actually practice witchcraft. So it seems that Mr. Drew was practicing some sort of witchcraft, voodoo, hoodoo, um, and was able to do illusions, and he was tricking people and hustling people into making them believe certain things you know that was trying to make them believe at that time. So now here comes this gentleman named Soleiman. As you see right here, he's wearing a fez hat. So that automatically tells me that he is a Mason and he's now a Shriner. Remember what I said before. In order to be a Shriner, you have to be a Mason. You cannot be a Shriner without being a Mason, point blank, period. I'm just telling you straight up. If you're not a Mason, you can't not be a Shriner, point blank, period. All right. So, anyways, this man right here, Mr. Suleiman, well, this is like a newspaper talking about some uh, some big meeting in Harlem. There's a notable gathering of prominent Masons in the upper room in Craigsville, well-known hostery, 103rd West 130th Street, some Friday, um, where they meet Dr. Abdul Hamid of, which is Dr. Abdul Hamid Suleiman. Um, right? He's from Egypt. He's a 96-degree Mason. Let me explain something real quick. Again, as I said, I am a Mason. In the United States, the furthest you can go in the United States because of American Masonry is the 33rd degree. You have to travel once you get 33 degrees in the United States. You have to travel abroad to you can get all the way through. I mean, I want the most I've seen and I've heard of is probably like 120 degrees. I'm sure you can go all the way to 360 degrees in masonry, but man, boy, I tell you, that's a whole lifetime. You're gonna have to travel different lands, different distance, and it's a vast of knowledge. 360 degrees in masonry, that's incredible. So, anyways, this guy is a 96-degree Mason, and it tells me that he was part of the Mizraim rites of Egypt, and that comes from Egypt. So he got those 96 degrees. So, like I said, in the United States, the further you can do is 33 degrees. So, and if I'm mistaken, somebody correct me. I'm sure I could be wrong. I don't know everything, but I want to say that the highest in the United States is 33 degrees. This brother right here, he's a 96-degree Mason, which, like I said, it tells me that he was part of the he has the primitive degrees, and these primitive degrees come from Egypt. Okay, so again, he came here from Egypt, so he's got those degrees, and he's also a Shriner. Okay. Remember that the Shriners is linked to Egypt as well, to Cairo and all these other places. Okay. And it's interesting, this name right here, Deuce Muhammad Ali, because I'm going to touch on him on another day. Deuce Muhammad Ali is very important as well, not for this movement, but for another movement. And I will be touching on him later on. Okay. So, yeah, Suleiman, Abdul Hamid Suleiman. Okay. Now, you're probably wondering, what does Suleiman have anything to do with the Moorish temple? Suleiman was the guy that helped Noble Drew Ali become Noble Drew Ali. He's the one that helped Dr. Timothy Drew, the Egyptian adept student. He's the one that helped him become Noble Drew Ali. But before he helped them become Noble Drew Ali, he helped them become a Mason. And that is the proof right there. That's Timothy Drew as a Mason. Okay. On the right side, I mean, he has a Masonic apron. He doesn't have too much, so it tells me he was in the lower ranks, in the lower degrees. The guy right next to him with the hat, that's obviously the worshipful master. The worshipful master is really the guy that's like, in charge of the lodge, basically. The other guy on the right or behind him, he's just seems like he's just another brother. But Noble Drew Ali, I mean, that's him in the middle, and a lot of these Moorish brothers will tell you, oh yeah, well, tell me what lodge he was in. Okay, well, he belonged to the Mecca Medina Temple in Newark, New Jersey. This is like back 1920 or something like that, early 1900s. Okay, now this is what I think is crazy. Like I said, nobody was wearing fezzes. No more was they weren't wearing fezzes during that time. The Turkish people were. So how you gonna tell me that the fez came from the Moorish when at this point the Moorish temple hasn't even been made yet? Think about that, guys. So here's the symbology that's included within the Moorish Science Temple of America. And it's all Mason. So again, their roots are so deep in Masonry, but they always want to talk ill about Freemasons. And that's what gets me aggravated sometimes. I'm not even gonna lie. So right here you got the Moorish, indigenous Moorish American, with the compass in the square, with their number 7 in the middle. The number 7 pretty much pertains to their little Quran book or whatever, the Circle 7. Here's another book right here, Moorish Circle 7. It's written by one of their brothers, a Moorish brother, but he's also a Mason. His name is Brother Keith Moore, 32nd degree Mason, right? Over here, you got a passport from the Moorish League. They got the little handshake right here. You got this right here, this triangle with the scimitar sword. That's all Shriners. Over here in this book, you got the actual Mason symbol with the Shriner. Over here, you got them with the compass and the square. And I'm going to keep going through it. I'm going to keep exposing it and showing some more. I mean, look at this right here. This is like the 12-step ladder. And this right here alone is like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? And then look at this right here. Assistant National Grand Sheik. That's interesting. See what I'm saying? That's interesting because they call them Grand Sheiks. We call them Grand Masters. So they have a 12-step ladder, 777. They got fruition, faith, relief, which I don't know exactly what all that means. But just look at the symbology. I mean, right here you got the scimitar with a star, but if you look at the Shriners, all you're missing is the crescent moon. Same thing, but I guess the crescent moon's down here. Over here you got the square and the compass. The compass is separate. The square is separate. Hmm. Why? You know what I'm saying? Why do they have to have the square and the compass? You know, they got the plumb. Over here they call it the plumbing. We use a tool called the plumb line. Over here they got the hammer. These are all tools of brick masonry. They got the handshake up here. See what I'm saying? Everything they have. Look, the columns, the Egyptian columns. The two obelisks. I mean, it's. I mean, if you're a Mason, you can see this. You'll be like, yeah, this is very Masonic. I mean, even over here, you have a Moor brother. You know, he's on the square, right? Standing on 90-degree angles, standing on the square, just like a Mason. This is a Mason. This is a Moor. He's doing the grand Helling sign. So is this guy. The crazy thing is this right here. They have a charter. The only other organization that I know that needs charters to work, to do work and be legit is Freemasons. In order for Freemasons to have a lodge, they have to have a charter, and they have to get a charter from a body that is going to give them legitimacy. So here again, they have a charter. They got a charter. He's doing the signals. I don't know. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. And the name of this symbology right here is called a grand healing sign of distress. Now, I'm not going to perform it because there's a way to do that. Okay. But just know it comes from Masons. Here we go. Right here. We're looking at Noble Drew Ali with the hand in his chest. Then you'll see a Mason over here with the hand inside. What people don't know is that this actual symbolism right here, this actual sign, if you know how to do it right, at some point your hand would be exposed identically just like his is. And then it goes in. So there's a way to do it as well. It's called a hidden hand. You know what I'm saying? And that's why my prior video, I don't know if you guys, whoever's seen my videos, have noticed that I was going on a rant. I was talking to some specific people in YouTube, and they talk about all these different symbols and stuff. And I was telling them, I was like, okay, they said a specific symbol is supposedly masonry, and I was like, that's not masonry. That might be something else, but it's not Freemasons. I was like, if you can tell me the name of that symbol and the password, then we can talk. Like I said, every single thing that Masons do has a name, has a password, it has a symbol. Everything, there is always something attached to it. It's not just something. It's not just like, okay, you're just standing there with his hand inside. Everything has a meaning. Okay, but let's look at this. Let's look at this other website though that they have. They have this Moor with a turban. They got the Islam. They got the 90 degrees. They got the 6-point star. They got the pyramid with the all-seeing eye. That's all Masonic. You got a symbol right here that says God. Right here. 6-point star. You got the all-seeing eye with the pyramid. You got this compass in the square with a G in the middle. And they say Islam. Here we go. We got some more of their material. This is this is crazy. This is the Moorish Science Temple of America degrees. Degrees. Why they couldn't call it grades or elevations or anything else? Why did they call it degrees? Because they take it from masonry. They took it from Masonry. They even have to have proficiency tests. Okay. If you look in the symbol some more, which I'm going to try to zoom in real quick, they have the handshake. You know, this is a navigational tool, which is the equivalent to a compass, right? I just think it's funny. I just think it's laughable, you know. So, and they have a Moore's order of the round table. So this is something probably exclusive, you know. Then let's look over here. This is one of their conventions they had in Chicago, and this is from 19. This is old. This is like 1928. You know what I'm saying? And look, they got the all seeing eye. You know, you got the little handshake. You got the camel and the pyramids. You know, that's all. That's Shriner. That's Masons. That's all of that. It's all involved in there. You know, here's this right here. This is supposed to be some kind of antiseptic, some kind of healing oil that Noble Drew Ali used to do back in the days. You know, hustling people with these fake potions and lotions and make you think that they can cure you, but it's just hustling. It's just a hustle, man. It's just a hustle. But you got the unity hands, you know, the Masonic handshake. You know what I'm saying? You know, this right here was $1. Back in those days, $1 was like $10. You know, maybe even 100. You know. So this is a question that I wanted to ask you. Moorish Science Temple of America. If you're a Moor and you're in this MSTA, why do you guys talk down on Masons when your roots come from us? We're not your enemies. So that's my take on that. Like I said, I could really go more in depth. I mean, I have so much information, especially on these Moors. Man, I can really go in. I mean, they even have their own fraternity, the Ancient Moorish Rites, which is a bullshit group of Masons, really, because they're, you know, if you talk to them, they tell you that a Moor is a master Mason already. No, you're not. You can't be. You have to go through the process. You're not just born a master Mason. Like that don't even make sense. You know, in ancient Egypt, you have to. If you look at ancient civilizations, every young man had to endure a form of initiation process to be tested, to true and tested, tried, and true. You know what I'm saying? They had to show their proficiency. They had to be able to be a man. They had to be able to provide. They had to be able to fight. They had to be able to do whatever it was that they had to do to prove to their people or their clan or their tribe that they were able to be a man. You know what I'm saying? That they were going to be able to bring something to the table. You know what I'm saying? Um, so again, I don't have anything negative against the Moorish Science Temple of America, but just if you guys want to do that, that's cool, man. Keep it to yourself. Don't come out here talking like you guys are the truth and you guys want to talk about Masons because this is where I'm exposing y'all. You guys, your roots come from fraud. You see what I'm saying? It comes from fraud, fraudulent activities, fraudulent transactions. And then you got a hold of Mason information, and you had another Mason that helped you guys out, and your leader became a Mason, and you took our information, and now you took it as yours. And now you guys are out here spewing to everybody that everything came from you guys. No. Remember, there is a difference from the ancient Moors, which I call the real Moors, and these Moorish Science Temple Moors. There's a big difference. They're not even the same people. I mean, they might be the same people, DNA, you know what I'm saying, historically wise, yes. But as far as the tradition or the religious system that they're practicing is not the same at all. Okay. The real Moors, the ancient Moors, they were Muslims, real Muslims. You know, they weren't 5%ers. They weren't part of the Sons. What's the society they call it? The Sons and Earths or something like. I don't get it. You know what I'm talking about. Um, you know, 5 percenters, Islam, all that. You know what I'm saying? All that came out of Masonry. Um, and I'm gonna prove it. I will prove it to you guys. Um, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not only gonna prove the black groups, I'm also gonna prove the white groups. There's white groups that came out of Masonry. You know, look at the Mormons, look at the Jehovah's Witness, you know, within Christianity itself, look at the Pentecostals. You know, all these groups were formed out of somebody that was a Mason, and they decided to leave and create their own thing. And you'll see the similarity of a lot of Masonic things in these organizations. And that's all I'm trying to. That's all I'm trying to let people know is that a lot of these organizations that exist nowadays, a lot of these religions, a lot of these groups wouldn't be these groups if it wasn't for Masonry. So instead of y'all talking hot junk about Masons, keep our names out of your mouth and pay homage. Okay. So that's all I got for you guys today. All right. So, like I said, that's all I got for you guys today. We will continue with another part of the series. And, you know, like, share, subscribe, give me some thumbs up. And if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry because I'm just shedding real light. I'm just letting y'all know what's really going on. Um, you know, again, nothing against my black brothers. I love my black people. You know, we are also descendants of Africa. You know, I'm Puerto Rican, so yeah, we're also descendants of Africa too. You know, I'm very light skinned. I mean, you know, it's not my fault. It's called colonization. Don't get it twisted. I'm all pro black, but at the same time, you know, me being Puerto Rican, I just can't be racist to one group and the other group because you know we're the best of all three worlds. We have Native American in us, you know, Taino Indians, which were the natives, uh, you know, that were dark people. Um, we had the Spaniards that came, and I guarantee you that most of them were Moors or descendants of the Moors, because there is a such thing as the Spanish Moors. The Moors conquered Spain, and you know what I'm saying. A lot of people don't understand that the Crusades was a campaign that started with the Pope, but it was also to get rid of these black Moors, you know, because of their religion. They were trying to get rid of them because they were trying to have power in Europe. And they couldn't have power in Europe if you have three or four other religions. So they had to get rid of all the religions, all the Moors, all the Muslim, get rid of all of that so they could establish Christianity. And that's how they established their power in pretty much around the world. Um, again, people, you have to do research. Okay. So with this, I'm gonna let y'all go. Thank you for tuning in to Taino Lifestyle. Again, like, share, subscribe, give me some thumbs up. This is a new channel, so I want to build it up. Please help me build it up. Everything that I'm saying is not personal, so don't take it personal. Uh, and like I said, let's continue with sharing important information. Peace and love. Everybody take care. Be safe out there. It's kind of rough in these streets nowadays. And just be safe. Stay tuned.